This is a short-eared owl. And I am Rosie Holdsworth.
Ooh.
Rosie Holdsworth.
Ooh.
I said, oh, never mind. I'm a ranger for the National Trust and I'm also a massive nature nerd. I love being outdoors and I love spotting wildlife, but one thing I'm not so great at is taking pictures of it. So thanks to our friends at CEWE, I'm getting teamed up with a wildlife photography expert who's going to teach me a thing or two about how to improve my camera skills and hopefully get me a lovely new picture framed for our ranger office. Now I'm hoping to catch a picture of one of my favourite animals, the short-eared owl. However, there is plenty of local nature for me to shoot. Not that kind of shooting. It's going to be a right hoot. First things first, I'm going to need a camera. Now, like most normal humans, I do take pictures on my phone, but they tend to be, not great. Whilst phone cameras these days are pretty decent, there's nothing quite like having the proper tools for the job. Thankfully, my new mentor has loaned me a camera for the next few days. Something enormous and very exciting has arrived at the office, so I'm going to open it because I think it might be a camera. Let's have a little look to see. Got my trusty knife. Ta-da! I'm very excited to open these. This must be a camera. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Look at that. It's an enormous wildlife lens. Top bird bothering. Oh, I can't wait to have a go with these. Next on the agenda, I'm off to meet my mentor, wildlife photographer and all-round good egg, Rachel Bigsby. So all that's left to do is pack my bags and hit the road. One of the perks of being a National Trust Ranger is being able to spend loads of time in nature, and National Trust Marsden Moor is pretty much on my doorstep. I'm really excited, but I am a little bit nervous. I really hope we see a short-eared owl, and I'm determined to get a picture, but of course there are no guarantees when it comes to wildlife. So here we are at the Marsden Moor Ranger Base, and that waving lady there must be Rachel.
Rosie, I'm Rachel, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Oh, you're welcome, it's such a beautiful day. I'm so looking forward to seeing your patch of the world.
We've put on the weather for you. Let's cross our fingers for owls. So some of our volunteers have fairly recently spotted owls not far from here, so I reckon if we jump in the van and head up to the moor, we should stand as good a chance as any.
Oh, that would be so good. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's a really nice part of the world, this. I loved my drive here.
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah, it's. I feel like the South Pennines just gets completely forgotten about, and like I'm so passionate about the South Pennines. I grew up around here, and like people go to the lakes or to the Dales or down to the Peak District, and they just like miss this amazing bit in the middle.
Just look at this landscape. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and like people just don't know it's here. And then they come in and they're like, oh, it's really beautiful. And like, yeah, I've been telling everyone for a really long time. It's a hidden gem. So I've got to ask, why wildlife photography? How on earth did you get into it?
Well, I've always been interested in wildlife. My late grandfather was a real keen naturalist, so he instilled that knowledge and passion from a very young age. And I've always been quite creative, but I used to love painting. When I was around a teenage age, I started dabbling in iPod photography.
Nice.
The first camera I ever had, photographing local landscapes and wildlife. I loved photographing landscapes, particularly the beach where I grew up, until one day I saw a northern fulmar for the first time, a relative of albatross, and it literally changed my life.
Ta-da! Welcome to Marsden.
What a view!
Pretty good, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What have you got in store for me up here?
Well, Well, I'm a big believer in wildlife photography being broken down into 3 different approaches: a creative approach, a technical approach, and a philosophical approach. So with that in mind, I think we should head out to the moors and work through those 3 together.
Nice, sounds like a good plan.
Have you got your camera?
Oh yeah, that'll help. When's poop? So back there you mentioned that you have 3 different approaches to photography. Which one is the most important and what do I need to focus on as a total beginner?
Well, I think in my opinion, having this philosophical approach to wildlife photography is a really good place to start. And that can be as simple as just having an understanding of your subject before you photograph it. Now, this can be understanding what time of day you might see them, or understanding what they look like, or understanding how they fly. If we were looking out here for short-eared owls, they have a very clockwork motion of putting their wings up and down. So it's very easy to identify when you're out and about. But when you have this understanding of your subject, it allows you to turn that guesswork into foresight, and you stop reacting and start anticipating. And when you can get yourself a few steps ahead of your subject, that puts you in the strongest position as a wildlife photographer. So a lot of people would rush in with the technical approach, but I think if you build that foundation of your philosophical approach first, it's a really good place to start.
That sounds right up my street. I really love that approach of really understanding the animals, because that's where I'm coming at it from.
So, on that thought of having an understanding of your subject before you photograph it, I'd really love to know more about your relationship with short-eared owls and what it is about them that you love, and just your relationship with wildlife in general.
I love all kinds of wildlife. If I had to pick one of my favourite species, I mean, it's like picking your favourite child, but I think it would be the short-eared owl. They're such an incredible bird. Like, they're so iconic in the landscape. I just love how dramatic they look close up, those like ridiculous emo eyeliner eyes, and the really bright piercing yellow eyes. They're just fantastic. They're so striking looking. Every time I see them, it kind of makes me think of this area that I love, or makes me think of home. They're not a very well understood bird because they're nomadic. We don't know a huge amount about their life cycle and that kind of thing. And I just love that kind of enigmatic quality to them. They're just fantastic birds.
I'm definitely drawn to that mysterious quality of wildlife too. So I'd love to see one, so perhaps we should hunker down here, be nice and quiet, and have a little scan with our binoculars to see what we can find.
Good idea.
Perfect.
We spend the next 30 minutes keeping our eyes and ears peeled, but as the light begins to fade, so do our hopes of spotting a short-eared owl.
Well, I think we're starting to lose our usable light for wildlife photography. What do you think?
Yeah, my stomach's definitely rumbling. Should we call it a night and start early tomorrow morning?
Sounds like a good plan.
Pesky owls, where are you?
And then, just as we're heading back to the van, one suddenly flies right past us.
Oh my God! So just as we'd started to give up hope of seeing an owl, it's given us a beautiful flyby in the dark. We saw it silhouetted against the sky, so we're just going to go a little bit further onto the moor and hang around and be quiet and see if it's still around, and what's called quartering, so that flapping around looking for voles. We'll have a little bit of a wander on.
We wait patiently on the moor, hoping it reappears. I even use my thermal camera to see if I can spot it hiding in the dark. But after an hour with no more confirmed sightings, we finally decide to call it a night.
Night night!
So it's 6 a.m. It's a bit of a blustery, showery day, but I'm really excited. We're up so early because that's the best time to see owls. They are crepuscular, which is a great word, and that means that they come out at dawn and dusk. So without further ado, I'm going to go and see if we've got a tame photographer on hand ready to meet us.
Oh, the rain stopped. It's still windy. Aha, the car's here. Morning! Did you sleep well?
Yes, thanks. How did you?
Very well, yeah. I barely slept last night because I was too excited because we saw an owl.
It's really reassuring to know that they're in the area.
They're here, yeah. It was just around the corner, so I reckon if we head in that direction, that's as good a place as any. Let's go. Let's go.
we head back out in search of the elusive short-eared owl. However, as the weather starts to turn and the rain starts to fall, we look for shelter so that Rachel can go through some of the more technical elements of wildlife photography.
Ta-da! Right, Rachel, now for the bit that I've been dreading. I am terrified of using this very expensive and exciting piece of equipment. Can you show me how to do it?
Yeah, of course I can. So first things first, don't be afraid because your camera's here to help you and it's full of all of the settings that you need to get the best shots. So what I'll do is I'll just talk you through some of the basic settings that I would use to photograph wildlife. So first things first, I would opt for a high frame rate and a continuous autofocus. So you can fire off 5 frames per second and continuously keep your subject in focus, which would be really, really helpful. Now, when it comes to your shutter speeds, generally I would advise a minimum of 0.02 of a second for anything that's moving, because you want to keep that nice fast shutter speed to get them sharp in the frame, but also just to counteract your own movements. In winds like this, you might be wobbling a bit of a heavy lens. So 2,000 is a really good place to start, but don't be afraid to up that. Generally, I would shoot around 3,200 if I can. So the higher the number, the sharper your shot is going to be. Now, when it comes to your aperture, this is this number on the right-hand side here. This dictates how blurry your background is. So if you want a nice portrait of a short-eared owl with a blurry background, you're going to go for a smaller number, which is 5.6 on this lens. Okay. But if you want a wider environmental shot with a moorland behind, you can up it with this dial in the front. You can head to around f9, f11, and this will give you more of your background in focus. All making sense so far?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that one for your aperture, that one for the shutter
That's
speed.
it, you've got it.
Hey.
Okay, some more of the settings, don't be too worried. There's a bit more of a deep dive, but there's nothing to be afraid of. So you see this I button on the back here. Yeah. If you just press up, it brings up these different settings you've got on the back here. So your picture control, your image size. Now these are set up at the moment to be the best they possibly can. And of course, this is what we're looking for. So a high image quality. This camera shoots JPEG, but if you have a raw image, that would be the one that I would opt for, because then you can edit it a little bit more extensively afterwards. Now it comes to your autofocus area. Now this camera is great because it's got built-in subject detection mode. So you can have animals, people, vehicles, aeroplanes, or you can just leave the camera on auto. But what I'll do for now is I'll stick it on animal so our camera knows what we're looking for. Now, when it comes to your area mode, I personally just like to use auto. There are lots of different settings here, from a single focus point to a 3D area, but auto gives you the best chance of getting all of these things in focus, particularly with wildlife that's moving around very, very fast and you don't often have that time to move between. The only time that I would change my opinion on that is if we were shooting the owl down in the moorland and you had lots of heather, lots of tall grass, lots of distractions there, I would opt for this single point AF mode. And then I would just focus that one single point on the owl, so your camera isn't getting too distracted by all of these moving parts around it. If we head back into these settings, this is where you can find your focus mode, so the continuous focus. And then when we head down underneath, the last thing I would recommend is your metering. Now, personally, I think matrix metering is going to be the easiest for wildlife photography because this just gives you a general metering of the whole area.
So what's metering?
That's okay. So metering is the camera's process of determining how much light to let into the frame for the optimal exposure, which also goes hand in hand with your shutter speed, your aperture, and your ISO. But while you're getting started, there's so much to bear in mind, there's so much jargon. I find it really helpful to put things on automatic, to not be afraid of doing that, to not feel like it's a failure for not shooting manual all the way, because you have to get your skill set in, your eye set, your creative approach, and then you can work through the settings once you've got those things nailed down.
Nice.
Although that was a lot of new information to take in, it's a relief to know that the technical side of using a camera isn't as scary as I first thought. But as the rain gets heavier, our owl spotting is put on hold and we're forced to retreat to the comfort of the van for the final part of Rachel's tutorial. And to be honest, I quite fancy a brew.
Ta-da! So we've obviously run through your philosophical approach and we've had a technical session. Is there anything else I need to know to take a great photo of an owl?
Well, it does lead us on to my most favourite part of wildlife photography, your creative approach. And as we spoke about before, wildlife photography is so subjective. What could be the perfect photo to someone could be an imperfect photo to somebody else. And really it's about channeling your passion, your vision, how the moment feels. So much of a wildlife photograph is actually how it feels to be in the environment and how you choose to capture that. So what is it about the moors that you really, really love?
Well, I feel like you've had a little bit of a flavour of it yesterday and today, but it's such a changeable landscape. Like 5 minutes passes and it's looking different again. The light changes all the time, the views in every direction, there's always something to look at. It's a site of special scientific interest, so the bird species that breed here are really, really important on a European and international scale, not just important locally. And I just love spending time up here.
Your passion really comes across. I mean, it's so nice to listen to, and why don't we try and figure out how we can channel that passion you have into an image?
Definitely, let's do it.
So something I was thinking about, if you were to look into the distance, the mist and the haze we've got is creating some natural layers in the landscape. Can you see just behind us, you've got the rolling hills, another one slightly faded in the background, and then it all whites out behind. So with a telephoto lens, you can get a nice environmental shot even at that big focal length and try and capture that in there. So maybe we should get started with that one. So bearing in mind that it's very windy and you've got a heavy lens, so it's going to be buffeted around, go for that shutter speed of around 2000, see how we get started with that.
So that was the one at the front, right?
That is the one.
Yeah, we're on 2000.
Great, and then with your aperture, let's look around f9 to start, just so we can get more of the environment in focus when we're shooting the landscape.
Yep.
Great, now have a little look and see what comes to you naturally in terms of the composition. Yes, I'd love to have a look at what you've got. Oh, see, perfect. You've got those layers in straight away.
Right, Rachel, I know you've got another photography assignment to get to, so I'll let you get going. But thank you so much for showing me how to go on with photography. I feel a lot better prepared and a lot less frightened to make a start.
You're absolutely welcome. It's been a genuine pleasure to work with you. Just remember, there are no rules of wildlife photography. There are only guidelines, and the most important images are the ones that you're the most happy with. So just remember, photography is subjective, and being out in the field, being happy, and trying to channel everything you love so much about these moors into the photos is the most important takeaway.
And what a great takeaway to have. Thank you. So although we saw the short-eared owl, I wasn't fast enough to get a picture of it, but I'm delighted with some of the pictures that I've managed to get today. All that's left to do is send it off to CEWE for printing.
Something very exciting has arrived. I think it's post from CEWE. Ooh. It's me pictures. That's the pesky kestrel. It's come out amazing. Look at this dude. Woohoo. That's a pesky roebuck. So that's the best picture I have ever taken. So they're definitely going pride of place on the wall. I'm so pleased with how they've turned out. I cannot believe that those are pictures that I managed to take myself. I feel really proud.
Thanks for watching. For more nature and wildlife videos, hit the subscribe button. From me, Ranger Rosie at Marsden Moor, I will see you soon.